Welcome to Lakeland, Florida. My name is Adam Darcott, joined by Will Collins. We're here for a Florida Midseason Showdown.
Oh man, and we are in beautiful nowhere, kind of, but we're at Florida Polytechnic University at their Polycon, and we have an okay turnout.
Yeah, many people have turned up. There is an interesting kind of thing we can do, if you can see it. Maybe if we look at it, there it is. That is the finest highway in all of Florida. For those of you who have seen any tweets from any Florida locals complaining about I-4, that is the infamous I-4. But yeah, no, down in Lakeland, they're no way away from where we live. But, you know, a lovely event. I'm sure it's going to be a good time for all involved.
No, it will. And we have actually kind of a good matchup for you guys here in round one. We have Alexander Thurston versus, you might know him, Brady Smith.
Yeah, Brady's been playing for a while now, a good few years, particularly in the Masters division as well. Putting up those good numbers consistently whenever he plays. So, you know, be interesting to see him play against somebody he may have not played against before. You know, we do get a slightly different crowd, trying to see if anyone maybe an hour south of us wants to get into VGC for the coming months or potentially years. But we'll see how it goes. You know, it should be a fun match. I think both players pretty much ready to get going with this one. It's going to be a smaller tournament. It's kind of how mid-season showdowns go now.
We have, what, 3-4 rounds?
3 or 4, yeah. Not a big one, but they all count. 4 with top 4? There you go, 4 rounds, top 4.
There we go.
Nice and easy to suss that one out with the help of our producers there. But in general, I mean, you know, turnouts have been a bit smaller over the past few months.
Yeah, and we're winding down out of the Moon format, getting ready for Ultra. And so we have a lot of players who are kind of like on the back burner prepping for this upcoming format.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, you know, when you look at the bigger events, the regionals we have. This is essentially the last weekend for playing Moon, so a lot of people weren't too enthused by it. I think there was some mixed reviews there on, well, is it a good format, is it as good as Sun, you know, and people kind of made their choice, but, you know, with our regionals coming up, we've got Daytona, the other corner of the state, essentially, or the other corner of the I-4 corridor, for those who love those roads and geographies. You know, then they're going to be preparing for that. That's, you know, only a matter of, I think it's 1, 2, 3 weeks away now, so definitely something to be preparing for, and, you know, with that, you've also got the European International Championships, North American International Championships, World Championships, if you're qualified. So, you know, it is tough, I think, to get people to say, oh, do you want to play a bit more Moon? Because it's been, I think it's the shortest of all the formats we had. We had Sun from September through to January, and then, you know, Moon rolled in. So, you know, it's going to be a lot shorter than Ultra, that's for sure.
And so here we're getting into team preview. And on Alex's side, you see he has a Tapu Bulu, a Stakataka, Ho-Oh, Kyogre, Porygon 2, and Hitmontop. And on Brady's side, we have a Kyogre, Ho-Oh, Incineroar, Toxicroak, Amoonguss, and Landorus Therian form.
Yeah, I mean, Ho-Oh Kyogre is not the most common.
No.
I think if you look at the statistics across the whole set. But it's nice to see Ho-Oh getting an outing. I mean, it's one of those Pokemon that, if you've got an opening for it, which I think, you know, he probably does right now, certainly something to be like, well, you know, you can play it. You know, if you avoid the Tapu Kokos, these are your risks. I'm just going to list my favourite electric types at this juncture. But, you know, if you can avoid those, then you could be in a really good position. May have to be a little bit careful with potentially that Porygon 2, but in general, you know, there's enough support around to try and deal with it.
And the combination makes a lot of sense. Ho-Oh provides both a physically defensive, just a defensive flying type Pokemon, which poses a threat to a lot of the typical counters for Kyogre and those grass types.
Yeah, Ho-Oh's always been an interesting Pokemon to me in the way that it's got obviously a legendary set of stats, but it doesn't really have like an out and out where this is what it's really, really good at, this is what it's really, really bad at, for example. It's just kind of well-rounded, nice, bulky, which certainly suits some players' playstyles a little bit more in that you say, well, you know, decently bulky, able to just kind of do what it wants at this juncture. So we'll see how it lines up. No restricteds in the lead right now, though, from Alex. Going to be going with slightly older-looking lead. Porygon 2 and Hitmontop facing down a Kyogre and Toxicroak.
And so, from the looks of Alex's team in this lead with Hitmontop and the Porygon 2, it looks like he's going to try and set up a Trick Room right off the bat and maybe try and pressure Brady with some of his slower, stronger Pokemon. Like, if he brought that Stakataka or even Tapu Bulu, he can pose a huge threat here.
Yeah, no, I think being able to set up a Trick Room would be great for him here, but, you know, Toxicroak's not going to let that happen so easily. It does have access to, you know, fake out other moves to try and shut down those Porygons. Certainly an interesting type in the Toxicroak, not one I think we see very often.
Yeah, no, but I think it's a really good matchup into Alex's team with the fighting poison type. It poses a huge threat to those offensive threats.
Yeah, well, the Hitmontop isn't going to get a chance to do much. It's going to get completely felled by, of course, something like that Water Spout after the fake out. Porygon 2, though, completely free to set up a Trick Room. Carrying the Eviolite does mean it's in a really, really good position to just set it up. I mean, look, only took not a lot, essentially, from a fully powered Water Spout.
Yeah, no, so, yeah, and here we see the Bulu come in. Bulu is going to threaten Kyogre with those one-hit knockouts. But again, Toxicroak is a huge threat to this, with Poison type, of course, being a 4-time super effective hit.
Yeah, I mean, he has to, basically, he wants the Tapu Bulu to deal with the Kyogre, but then he's going to have to be very, scared of that Toxicroak. And I don't know if something like the Porygon is going to have the option there to do that. So we'll see exactly how that comes out from there as Kyogre immediately forced off the field here.
And I think it's also very likely that we might see a Ho-Oh come in for Brady as well, but no, he's going to opt to keep whatever he has hidden in back.
Yeah, Porygon 2 is going to take a little bit of time. Recover up, always a good smart. Tapu Bulu tries to Zen Headbutt and misses that Toxicroak, so he does get caught with a Poison Jab in retaliation. It's not enough to get the knockout.
No, so that's a very bulky Tapu Bulu, but unfortunately getting punished for a good read on his part.
Yeah, I mean, he's been in a pretty good position there to try that Zen Headbutt, maybe a little bit of kind of excitement.
Yeah,
as
no,
we play
absolutely.
through the game. But we'll see exactly how that one pans out. See if he can maybe land a Zen Headbutt now, but now Brady, of course, knows about it. So Tapu Bulu's big secret already revealed.
And Among Us might be okay with taking a Zen Headbutt here. It is, of course, a very bulky Pokemon, and taking one probably wouldn't be the end of the world, but I think Brady's positioned really well here. He's not overtly threatened by either of Alex's two Pokemon.
Yeah, the Tapu Bulu's got to essentially try and hit both, and it's going to try and save itself for later at this juncture, as we do see a Ho-Oh come out, so that'll match up nicely against the Amoonguss. Maybe try and take on those poison jabs a little bit better. It'll be interesting to see what the Porygon tries to do, though, with this kind of opportunity. It's back to full health, its Trick Room is set, so why wouldn't it try and weave in an attack here?
Oh, absolutely.
Get some big damage down. It does have options to that classic Bolt Beam options.
And
we'll
we're going to see the Toxicroak come out for Brady's own Ho-Oh in order to preserve that Toxicroak for later on in the match.
Yeah, well, we're going to see the Beam part of Bolt Beam. Pretty solid Ice Beam there, but Amoonguss takes that damage so well. Well known for being particularly bulky. But I don't think it's going to appreciate attacks from Alex's Ho-Oh as much.
No, absolutely not. And as long as he can avoid the strong fire or flying type attacks, that grassy terrain is actually going to keep that Amoonguss very healthy.
Yeah, it's been in a good position to kind of keep lifting up its health a little bit every single turn. So Amoonguss has always been a problematic Pokemon to deal with, and adding grassy terrain to that makes it even harder, especially when you can stay on the field and recover health, or you can switch out and recover health with the Regenerator as well. So he's kind of got to find one turn to just cleanly knock it out, I think, and then he'll be in a good position.
Absolutely. And Alex is kind of moseying about on these Trick Room turns. And of course, we see in Trick Room, Amoonguss moving faster than anything else and sporing that Porygon 2.
Yeah, that Porygon 2 going to sleep is going to be a bit of a problem. You do need to get some damage out while you're in Trick Room. And that is certainly going to limit it, though. For Amoonguss's troubles, though, will be caught with the Brave Bird. Looks like Amoonguss isn't going to be able to spore any longer, as we do get our second knockout of the game, the first one on Brady's side.
And I think that Spore was very important. It means that Brady gets a free switch in here after it gets Brave Bird, but it also means he puts to sleep the Porygon 2, moving back into regular speed turns, so it can't put the Trick Room back up.
Yeah, I mean, it could end up, of course, that he's already taken that one turn of sleep, because he does move after the Porygon 2. But it'd be interesting to see if Porygon 2, wakes up, and if it does, is it able to actually get a move in, or is it just going to be caught as soon as Trick Room's ended? Just with big attacks from something like this Toxicroak. I mean, the Ho-Oh's on the field right now. It's really an easy decision for Brady to say, well, I'll just fake out and go after the Ho-Oh, keep wearing down this Porygon a little bit as well. So it's easy to knock out while that Trick Room expires.
For sure. I think we'll probably see a Fake Out come out on the Ho-Oh here and try and get some more damage into it or whatever might switch into its place. I feel like Alex does not have a safe switch into a Brave Bird here. Either Ho-Oh will be chunked heavily or Tapu Bulu switch in will be knocked out.
Yeah, I mean, we do see as well, we have seen all 4 of his Pokemon now, so we know that Tapu Bulu is the last Pokemon. So he's going to be able to, really force to try and get that in a position where, hey, it's got to come in safely, right? Porygon 2 does wake up immediately, though. This could be really big.
That's a very important wake up.
Yeah, it's a big hit. Not so large.
Unfortunately, the special defense of that Ho-Oh tanks the Thunderbolt quite effectively.
Yeah, I mean, it took absolutely no concern. And Porygon, not known for its offensive prowess, I'd probably suggest the Brave Bird recoil would probably do the same, if not more, to this Porygon.
And so Brady expertly calling that Protect and doubling into the Porygon 2 to make sure that gets off the field.
Yeah, and the Trick Room expires right now, so this Tapu Bulu coming at the end is pretty much going to be in trouble for the duration of the game. I mean, both Pokemon on Brady's side threaten it, and he just doesn't have the room or even the health bar right now to try and fight back.
It's fair to say that Brady probably has this game in the bag. If he can knock out Tapu Bulu, we know he does have the Kyogre in back.
Yeah.
And if that shows to be, like, say, a Scarf Kyogre, it's going to be able to move faster than that Ho-Oh all the time and potentially knock out with a single target Water Spout in the rain.
Yeah, I mean, he just needs to clear the way for his Kyogre, I think, and the Tailwind's going to make it even easier. He could literally just lose both his Pokemon now and be fine. I think we're just going to see Toxicroak start the cleanup process. Whatever Ho-Oh does in retaliation right now is just going to be kind of a bit of a consolation prize, I think. Might be interesting to know some of the numbers, but I think we know for a fact that Ho-Oh beats Toxicroak. That's kind of a bit of a given. Does get to learn that we're not going to see a Focus Sash, though.
No, I think I would have liked to see a Brave Bird onto Brady's Ho-Oh to kind of see what those damage numbers look like and potentially set up for a game 2 where he can set up knockouts by putting on some chip and then finishing it out with his Ho-Oh.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly an interesting option. But now Kyogre is back in, of course, for Brady. The Tailwind is up. No concern, I think, here for Brady to try and to close this one out. Brady, of course, with a fantastic record in Florida. Always been able to put up those numbers. Always been able to turn up to events and actually win them, which, yeah, we have a smaller scene here, and a lot of people talk about how, it's easier and there's not as much competition, but it's always important to see that you actually convert when you're at these smaller events and make sure that you're not just getting complacent, falling short when it really matters. So.
For sure, and Brady's a player that in recent years has shown that he has the ability to win at these smaller events and then push into top cuts and even regional wins.
Yeah, I mean, that's always important as well, is you could dominate your local scene, but if you kind of step it up into, the bigger events, the regionals, the internationals, and you don't put in those performances, it's very difficult. You could pick up 400 points from mid-season showdowns, or 300 points, but you still have to go to an event and turn up to get you kind of over that line at times.
Absolutely.
So, it's certainly interesting to see, the evolution of a player like Brady to say, like, okay, I've started out at this level and I've moved up and learned more. I think knowing about the surprise, I guess, Zen Headbutt on the Tapu Bulu certainly makes this decision a little bit easier for Brady as we play Game 2.
I would like to see how Alex adapts to Game 2. Brady has a very clear-cut strategy in that he wants to put on a lot of pressure with his 2 restricteds. He wants to set up Tailwind, he wants to fake you out with Toxicroak, maybe direct with his Amoonguss, and he just wants to run through your team. But Alex is very clear his team wants to set up Trick Room, it wants to be bulkier, it wants to kind of like chip you out before it can take knockouts. And that strategy didn't work in Game 1.
I mean, he lost, of course, the Hitmontop turn 1, and I know it's a big loss to go down to 3 Pokemon, but the important thing is that the pressure of the Hitmontop forced the Toxicroak to fake out it. And you think, do you just bring it again and let that happen once again? Because the Porygon needs, a good amount of damage on it to knock it out. So if you bring the Hitmontop again, you do certainly help out a little bit. The Intimidate on the Toxicroak did give his Tapu Bulu the chance to take that Poison Jab hit later on as well, so it was important, but I think there's an argument to be said for, well, if you can still safely set up Trick Room and maybe get your Stack Attacker in there, that's certainly an option as well. Stack Attacker, another Trick Room setter as well, so...
Unfortunately, I don't think Stakataka has much of a way to, forgive me for this, but stack up against Brady's team. With the Kyogre, the Toxicroak, the Incineroar, the Landorus, there are so many Pokemon that pose a huge threat to that Pokemon.
As long as it can get in when Trick Room's up and things are low and it can Rock Slide, then that's sort of its only option, I think. But, it really depends. You want it to set up Trick Room and capitalize on it itself. but it's not always that easy. It looks like Brady's just sticking with exactly the same league. I recognize those names.
It's hard to go wrong with the fake out water spout.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. Tapu Bulu is an interesting selection here. He's not going to have that option of the fake out pressure, but he brings kind of a unique pressure, and if you don't hit the Tapu Bulu, it is just going to slap you about with a big Horn Leech or Wood Hammer.
Yeah, agreed. I think he wants to force the fake out onto Tapu Bulu and also not give up that free knockout from the water spout on turn 1.
Right, I think that's going to be important there. And if Tapu Bulu takes it well, then he's going to be in a prime position to capitalize on it. So we'll see how that one goes. Tapu Bulu could also switch out here. I mean, that would be interesting. See Tapu Bulu leave the field, let that Porygon set up.
But if we look at Alex's team, I think the only safe switch-in he has into a potential water spout would be his own Kyogre, because otherwise he has Stakataka, Ho-Oh, and Hitmontop, and we already saw Hitmontop be one-hit knocked out by the water spout.
Yeah, I mean, Tapu Bulu, you could just rely on its bulk to stay in and say, well, it's bulky, and let it do what it wants to do. There is also an option for Brady to really turn it up to 11 and just say, all right, Poison Jab, Water Spout, like, let's do it. But throw Tapu Bulu enough to force that Kyogre away.
And it's interesting, we're going to see the Amoonguss come into the Tapu Bulu, who we saw have Zen Headbutt, but Alex is going to withdraw his own Bulu for his Stakataka.
I actually like this a lot. Poison Jab will not connect as Porygon 2 gets to set up the Trick Room, so Brady is going to be able to capitalize on that with the Spore. That's certainly interesting, but you can't Spore both of them.
For sure. And I think that was a greedy move on Alex's part, but the prediction paid off. The Kyogre didn't go for a Water Spout, and he safely got that Stakataka in. Yeah,
I mean, getting the Stakataka in, you've always got the option to just Rock Slide for the rest of the game and really see how that goes, so be curious to see if that's his chosen move.
Especially since he did also get the Trick Room up on turn 1.
Right, I mean, he's just able to Rock Slide, Gyro Ball things. Gonna get that Porygon 2 out. I actually quite like that. Bringing that Tapu Bulu in, meaning, hey, you can't get Spored. So it really comes down to what's going on. Amoonguss avoiding the Rock Slide, though. This is not grand. It's a bit of damage on Toxicroak.
Yeah, we're gonna see... Oh, and we're gonna... And there we go. Oh, no, it goes into the Stakataka. I expected that to go into the Porygon, but here Brady's going to put in as much pressure as possible and heal up his Toxicroak to a very healthy amount.
Yeah, I mean, Stakataka is going to get the grassy terrain a little bit, but, you know, the problem is right now is you don't... I mean, you've got the Zen Headbutt option again, so, yeah, you really kind of needed that the last turn, but, you know, we've seen that it's not got a Focus Sash on. We saw that in Game 1. So maybe he's just going to be forced to switch that out, and he, you know, if he goes right after that Amoonguss, this could be a completely different turn for Alex. We're going to see the Incineroar come in. That's going to help.
Yeah. No, this Intimidate is very important to get onto Stakataka and Tapu Bulu. They're both physically offensive Pokemon, and that -1 stage of attack is really going to hamper their presence.
Yeah, well, you've still got the Rock Slide option.
Yeah.
That's... a decent amount of damage. If Zen Headbutt goes towards that Incineroar, it's going to be a problem. Amoonguss does flinch. Tapu Bulu just Wood Hammers right away, so...
Probably expecting the Kyogre to come into that slot.
Yeah, I mean, we did, of course, not see the Incineroar in Game 1, so maybe kind of banking on that information, thinking he's not going to mix it up. But he does proc the Berry here, and that's good damage on the switch-in. I mean, yeah, it's a combination of the two, but you didn't get put to sleep. You kept that Amoonguss at bay for a turn or two. You do, of course, have to worry about the fake out now, though.
But I think it's, as you said earlier, I think Stakataka has to rely on the Rock Slide here. Gyro Ball isn't doing anything to Amoonguss, and Incineroar resists it.
Yeah, I mean, you're in a perfectly fine position to just keep Rock Slide in. You know, I think on this turn, you probably just Rock Slide anyway.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You know, if you get faked out, you get faked out on something, you know, but there's really no point trying to buy the time. I think you've got to try and get any damage down you can. Especially if your own Grassy Terrain is healing up your opponent's Pokemon.
I think it's very real we might see a double target into Amoonguss here. Try and get the Rock Slide and Zen Headbutt, maybe to wear it down, potentially get a knockout with a critical hit.
If you hit both, you could get the double flinch.
You could.
Flinch on flinch on flinch.
No, and when your back's against the wall, just Rock Slide it out.
Yeah, I mean, Stakataka's going to leave, probably a little bit concerned. Porygon 2 maybe looking to try and set up that second Trick Room later in the game. It's always good if you can get 2 Trick Rooms so it gets Regenerator. Oof.
That's it's gonna be interesting if he gets to capitalize on that.
I think Porygon 2 was happy to take either one of these abilities. I think Intimidate would have been nice to kind of like hold back the Incineroar, but with Regenerator, if it gets chunked out, it can just retreat and get back a third of its health.
Yeah, I mean, that's gonna be fun if it can capitalize on that. I forgot how much fun watching Trace could be. It's been a couple years now, I think, since Porygon 2 was really everywhere, way back in 2017, so certainly interesting to see if Alex is able to use that to his advantage. It's like you can switch and get almost a recover, or you can just stay in a recover. It's really up to you.
And I think we're just seeing the pace of the game slow down a bit here. I think Brady is fine leaving his bulkier Pokemon out, just trying to slow down Alex to wait out these Trick Room turns.
Yeah, Amoonguss is going to Spore. Will of course land on that Porygon. No doubt on the speed tier there. And we'll see what this Tapu Bulu can do. Porygon 2 just napping for now.
Yeah, I think it's... Oh.
Okay.
And we're going to see Incineroar U-turn out here, potentially going back into that Toxicroak.
Yeah, I think Toxicroak would be good. Then you can start Drain Punching on this Porygon 2 and the next turn. Then, you know, if you've got the Drain Punch threat, it also means you just can't switch in Stack Attacker because it will just go down. Tapu Bulu's Zen Headbutt will connect this time. And we'll see how much it does. Not enough.
And that Intimidate is really holding back its damage.
Right, it's like the Intimidate hurts, and then Amoonguss is healing up anyway, so it's not really what you wanted to see.
I think if Alex really wants to threaten Brady, he needs to get that Tapu Bulu out. We saw in Game 1 that it was virtually his only offensive threat outside of that Ho-Oh, and he really needs it to stick around and do damage.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he has to get that one in. I mean, at least we've seen... Again, I guess all 4 Pokemon from Brady. So that certainly helps the decision making a little bit. Tapu Bulu will leave. There's the Kyogre. Interesting choice.
We're going to see Alex's Kyogre. And this is the first time we've seen his restricted this game, correct?
Yes, that's the first time Kyogre's come to the field. I mean, as long as he doesn't get Grass Knotted, I think he'd be in a good position. He's probably going to take this Poison Jab well, but switching it in and immediately losing the pressure of Water Spout is rough. And a follow-up double target. Not looking great for Kyogre.
And see, it's interesting to see the Kyogre come in unless he was just willing to sack it here, because Kyogre does not match up against these 2 Pokemon well at all.
Not at all. Not with that Dry Skin ability on Toxicroak.
But I think it's likely we see Brady start to switch to a more offensive route here. He's waited out the Trick Room and Porygon 2's asleep, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him target into that Kyogre to try and knock it out, and then maybe switch into one of his own threats, like his own Kyogre.
Yeah, I think there comes a point in the game where, you know, now Trick Room's ended, Brady can just really start going with it and just try and knock things out consistently, particularly, you know, something that's trying to set the Trick Room. That's always going to be a problem here, so we'll see what Alex can do. This Kyogre may be able to find a way back into the game, but trying to hit Incineroar and Toxicroak together is always going to be a bit of an ass.
Oh, and Brady's just going to get a free switch in with his Incineroar here into the protecting Kyogre. Oh, and he predicts the protect with a Drain Punch into Porygon 2.
Yeah, it's not really been too much of a problem for him, especially while Porygon 2 stays asleep. You're in a really solid position at that point to just keep wailing on it. The Kyogre could start fighting back. You know, a single target water move would be great. Something to knock out that Incineroar, but right now, you know, he just protected last turn. His option to protect a fake out is just not there, so, you know, Brady's going to have a free turn, essentially.
The incentive to Water-type attack with Kyogre is very low, too, because Brady can always switch that Incineroar out into something that resists it, and he can just put down some damage.
Yeah, but we are going to get the Trick Room back. Porygon 2 takes another Drain Punch quite comfortably, and then decides it's, you know, wants the Trick Room. Now could be an interesting time to try and capitalize on that Regenerator ability,
For sure.
which it's still holding on to. So, you know, if you switch that out, you bring it back in about half health, maybe just sack something off that you don't require any longer. But, you know, the fact that we have Rain on play, it's going to make things a little bit interesting.
And I think the problem is Alex doesn't have any real free sacks here.
No.
All of his Pokemon in back are his required offensive threats, and he needs to start picking up the speed of this game, otherwise he's not going to get through the defensive wall that Brady is setting up in front of him.
Yeah, I don't know about this Tapu Bulu. I mean, if he gets caught with a Drain Punch, great. If he gets caught with a Poison Jab, not so fantastic. We'll see what's going, though. You know, it's going to be the U-turn, so saving an Intimidate for later would make things very, very difficult. And also getting that Incineroar away from the danger it is pretty key for Brady. Being a slower Incineroar means he's been able to capitalize off the Trick Room laid down. by Alex.
Yeah, we're just going to see Amoonguss come back in here. It's relatively safe. We saw how much damage the Zen Headbutt did earlier, and we're going to see an Origin Pulse come out from Kyogre.
Yeah, I mean, he wanted to pick up that Incineroar. It's not going to be there, of course. Toxicroak doesn't care, but he does Drain Punch into the Tapu Bulu, so not all hope is lost here.
It's an interesting choice to Drain Punch there instead of Poison Jab the Porygon. The Porygon was very low, and of course Stakataka could switch into it safely, but the upside of potentially hitting Tapu Bulu for 3/4 of his health on a switch-in is a nice prospect.
I think the biggest problem I see from Alex's side is he just has no way to get through this Amoonguss. Like, we've already seen that the Zen Headbutt doesn't work. We know that Brady's got the option to switch in that Intimidate and make it even harder once again, so... You know, as long as Brady, I think, can keep that Amoonguss safe, he's going to be able to buy enough time through that continuous Spore, then switch. Like, Alex needs the Trigger Room to hit Brady's special or just offensive threats. He needs that.
Yeah.
But the problem is he does that and he enables the Amoonguss. Amoonguss has always been a Pokemon that sits there and completely nullifies a bunch of Pokemon.
And here we're going to see Incineroar come back in, intimidate that Tapu Bulu, make sure it's not sticking around and doing like an insane amount of damage. But like the problem is that Alex's offensive threats just do not line up well against Brady's team. He resists them on multiple fronts, and Alex just can't find a foothold. He needs to get that restricted in the back, and he's just not finding an opening to do it.
Yeah, I mean, he's hitting these Amoonguss with Zen Headbutt over and over again. It's just not getting there. You know, and again, another turn where Brady's essentially free to do what he wants. That Kyogre can't protect once again, so either has to get Spored, get Grass Knotted, or just, you know, switch out. Then that becomes a problem. Again, you know, what do you switch into the Grass Knot? Stakataka? Oof.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
And it looks like Rain is out here.
Yeah,
which
Rain's
means that this Incineroar is free to fire out a Fire-type move into that Bulu, and there's virtually nothing that the Porygon or Stakataka can do to fight it.
Yeah, Brady's just turning up the heat there in the Trick Room that Alex set. A Grass Knot on the Kyogre, and I think we know what's about to happen to the Tapu Bulu as well. So it looks like this game, even though Alex got the Trick Room he wanted, Brady actually just had the Pokemon he needed to capitalize on it. Tapu Bulu not able to hold on without the protection of the Rain. So it's going to be 2-4 here, with Trick Room remaining and a heavily damaged Stakataka and Porygon as the last two.
Yeah, Brady playing a fantastic chess game here, switching his pieces in and out, getting Intimidates, Fake Outs to maneuver himself into like a very nice defensive position before he can turn on that offense.
Yeah, well, there's Porygon 2. Does get the Regenerator boost. Look at that. It's managed to capitalize off that Trace stability. And then there's Stakataka also dangerously low. I mean, realistically, you know, as long as Amoonguss keeps moving first, really Amoonguss is going to be able to start cleaning up the game.
Yeah, I think it's very unlikely that Alex finds a way back into this game, but where there's a Rock Slide, there is a way.
Yeah, I mean, he can Rock Slide his way through this Amoonguss potentially, and you know, the problem is he has to Rock Slide and keep Trick Room up, which is just so much to do when your health is already this low. Good damage on both though, so a double flinch could change everything here. A little bit less now we do see that big old berry on Amoonguss, but we got to keep going, you got to keep believing.
Unfortunately, just missing the knockout on the Incineroar as well.
Yeah, that's going to be a problem. Porygon's heading to sleep right now. You know, not going to see that move for a couple of turns. Does take its first turn of sleep immediately, though. It does get a flinch on Incineroar, so there's something.
That's important. It keeps the Incineroar from returning a knockout on the Stakataka and all but sealing up this game.
Yeah, I mean, it does give him an option. Just going to need about 4 more Rock Slide flinches and an immediate Wake Up. Oh, he's not even going to be able to Rock Slide first this turn. The Trick Room just ended.
Oh, no.
I thought it was ending, you know, next time around. But
and honestly, I think Brady's free to target into this Porygon 2, knock it out here, and we see a Protect kind of banking on a turn 1 Wake Up.
Yeah, I mean, he has to hope that it doesn't go that way. He's going to U-turn, good amounts of damage here. If Porygon wakes up in Trick Rooms, then I guess we got a game on. But the chances of that kind of slipping away as we go. See what comes in. Probably the Toxicroak, just able to Drain Punch it next turn.
For sure.
Assuming it doesn't wake up and lock up that game.
It also allows him to Fake Out the Stakataka on the next turn and Spore one of them.
Yeah, I mean, we do see the Porygon stay asleep, so really no concerns here. I mean, you've literally got the turn order perfectly. You can Drain Punch, then Grass Knot, and that'll seal up the game.
I think it's likely we see a fake out and a spore onto the Stakataka, and that leaves Brady open to just drain punching it.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a concern at all. Drain Punch is going to be in pretty much the way to win the game here. Toxicroak able to just tidy that up nice and easy.
And Porygon 2 doesn't pose a huge threat to Brady. We know he has a huge offensive powerhouse in the back, and this Toxicroak, of course, does hit super effectively with Drain Punch.
Yeah, well, there's the Porygon 2 taken out. Stakataka did fail its Protect, trying to find another turn for the Wake Up, but it doesn't matter. Moongus is going to send Stakataka right to sleep. Next turn, Drain Punch will get it there. Not able to protect any longer. So Brady, put through the ringer a little bit in game number 2 here. Made to position with Trick Room in mind, with offensive threats in mind, but showing, how that experience really comes forward and does demonstrate a win here.
Yeah, and we're going to see a very clean 4-0. The only Pokemon even close to a knockout being that Incineroar, but it's holding on. And we're going to see Brady lock up that first set 2-0.
Yeah, I mean, that's how you want to win your first game. You always want to start off strong. So really smart game played there by Brady. Puts him in a good mood for the rest of the tournament, I'd imagine.
Yeah,
but
sure.
Alex showing, a lot of good skills there, a lot of good positioning, and a lot of good ideas.
Yeah.
I think he'll be able to capitalize on in some later rounds.
No.
Having a peek across the venue, I think most of the other games are completed. So we'll be taking a short break and then coming back with round number 2.